Good morning, everyone. My name is Luis, and today I'm going to give you my informative speech on procrastination. I'm going to be presenting about why we procrastinate and the effects of procrastination. So, we're all students here, and we've all definitely procrastinated at some point in our lives. So, I'm going to present you guys with a situation as well as a question. Imagine it's 11:58 p.m. and you just sat down in front of your computer and decided that now is when you wanted to start your assignment, which is due at 12 midnight. Now, obviously, that's very exaggerated. I feel like most of us would give ourselves at least an hour before every assignment is due. But by show of hands, how many people here have ever put an assignment off to the very last minute? That's probably most of us in the room, which is why procrastination is such an important topic to address. Yeah. So the first thing we should talk about when addressing procrastination is what it actually is. So in the dictionary, procrastination is defined as the action of delaying or postponing something. And when reading that, most people would assume that it just means that you're lazy. However, psychologist Dr. Tim Pikel explains that procrastination is not just laziness. He uses a quote and he says that it's not a time management problem, but really a problem with dealing with our feelings, as well as an emotional regulation problem. To further explain this, he uses the word mood repair. This is when, for example, a task makes us feel uncomfortable or stressed and anxious, so we end up avoiding it to feel good in the moment. So another way to look at it is procrastination is a way of our brain protecting us from feeling uncomfortable feelings associated with different tasks. So now we can move on to the emotional aspect, or one of the causes of procrastination, which is emotional avoidance. I first would like to start with a statistic by another psychologist, Dr. Pierce Steele, where she found that 95% of people admitted to procrastinating at least once every day. I just want to address that to show how much procrastination is present in everyone's daily lives. So with emotional avoidance, this is when, like I was talking about before, a task gives us stress, anxiety, and makes us doubt ourselves. When that happens, our brain just wants to avoid it. We don't want to feel bad, basically. So basically, it's not about laziness, but about avoiding uncomfortable emotions. Following this, the next cause is something known as present bias or instant gratification. So first, what is present bias? Present bias is a tendency to value immediate rewards over future rewards. There's some examples on the slide, but basically, being on your phone versus studying. On your phone, it's instant dopamine hits. Your brain's constantly stimulated compared to a book where you have to read, imagine things, and study. And yeah, another example is also with eating candy versus eating healthy food. Steele also connects procrastination to something known as temporal discounting, which is basically what the first bullet point is saying, where future benefits or things that come later on seem less valuable than things that happen right away. So basically, we as people want what feels good now rather than what feels good later. Following this is a fear of failure and perfectionism. A fear of failure is often when we think things like, what if I fail? Dr. Brene Brown explains that when we're afraid of our work won't be good enough, we end up delaying the work to not feel that feeling. Perfectionism is often procrastination in disguise. So if we never begin, then we never risk failing or being judged, even though it's just in that moment. And then finally, the last reason is feeling overwhelmed and having an unclear task. This is when something is too big or too vague and we don't know where to start, and in turn, we just end up not starting at all. That's when our brain freezes, and it's not really an inability to do something, but just being overwhelmed by it. So now finally we can get into the effects of procrastination. So number one is stress and guilt. Whenever you do end up starting whatever you ended up procrastinating, you're going to feel super stressed by it because you're rushing yourself, and you're probably going to feel guilty and think, oh my gosh, why did I let myself push this off so long? A study by two psychologists, Tyson Baumeister, found that students who procrastinated earlier in the semester experienced less stress at first, but way more stress later on, as well as worse grades. So that shows how procrastination also eventually leads to lower performance. And then sleep loss is just when most of the time when you procrastinate, you end up staying up late, super late at night, and yeah. And that also just reinforces the habit. The more you procrastinating one time, more often than not, leads to more procrastination later on. So in conclusion, now that we know the causes and effects, hopefully we'd be able to respond differently to it. When facing procrastination, we'll be able to know when we're facing that and stop ourselves and take back control of the time. I want to end with a quote by a poet. His name is Edward Young, and he said that procrastination is the thief of time, and most of us feel that loss when deadlines hit. So yeah, procrastination is the thief of time, and by hopefully this presentation lets us see when we're allowing procrastination to take our time as well as take back that time. Thank you.